client asked me yesterday, what is really the deal with AI? A lot of people talk about it, but he said that he went for a dinner last week with his fellow friends who are also business owners of small and medium-sized businesses, and there was a spectrum of different adoptions of AI tools. Some thought it was a fad and wasn't really useful. Some other used ChatGPT to ask a few questions and get answers, but nothing specifically related to their own business. Some of them said, I'm using AI to do some email writing and automations to save some time on some office work or etc. And some of them were, in very few percentage actually, were quite advanced. So they were implementing AI in their delivery and services. And so this is where I want to... So the question, is it really a truly transformative tool for your business? Should you even consider it? Should you be in a FOMO state? So fear of missing out? And as usual, the answers are very nuanced. So firstly, AI is truly a revolutionary technology. And let's define AI. AI is just an algorithm that for a certain set of inputs will process those inputs and give you an output. So artificial intelligence is just a machine that crunches some data and gives you data in a response. It's still zeros and ones. So think about it like a traditional sense machine. You with an engine, so you put some oil and in the end it decouples your productivity. Or another machine, you put some aluminum sheets and it gives you folded aluminum sheets. And so the AI that we were talking about in the last few years is very versatile. So it can do a lot of things. And so this is like the general purpose large language models that are on the market and that can do various stuff. Some of them become very multimodal. Multimodal means they can do many types of outputs. So from text to images, to sometimes even video, to audio. So they can process different types and formats of input and output, also lots of types of artifacts. So that's pretty much how you can think about it. So there are AIs that are very generalistic. So you can throw anything on them and they'll give you quite a good response. And some AIs are very specialized. So what we can think about this is you gotta understand what are all the different AI types exist before using it. And then AI in itself, as we said, is a neural network. It's a machine that for a certain set of input will give you an output. And when you might have heard the term of agents. So agents are those AIs that are augmented with memory and tools. And so this is where agentic AI is an AI that has access to real world tools, so usually apps, also on your computer or on the cloud or in the internet. And it also has access to context and memory. So you can really remember what happened. And when you put those things together, it can do a set of actions in order and think. So it's not real thinking, but it's good enough. So that's how you have to think about those systems. Often, by design, they are unpredictable. So they will output you an answer that can't be repeated with consistency. So that's why sometimes we say the AI hallucinates. It will create some output that isn't grounded in reality, or it will invent something with high confidence. And so there are ways for people who use it to mitigate that. But anyway, this is way too technical. You don't care about that. What you care about is like, I have my business and either I want it to help me acquire more customers, or I want it to help me deliver, do the delivery better to my customers, and basically lower the cost. Because what really hides behind every interest in the AI is that basic promise of do some work very well for very cheap, right? I think that's what people care about. And as we always say, it depends where you want to put it. It's important. And so there are ways for you to identify where that place is within your business. So there are some resources published by McKinsey and Deloitte and those big consulting firms that says where is the biggest impact for AI in this decade or in the next few years. So that's very interesting. I might show on the screen what it looks like. But then there's also our framework at AnchorPoint that says you have 6 types of delegation, and AI is just part of it. So you can't automate or delegate everything to AI. It's still very useful technology, but there is a sequence before, or prerequisites before you can actually jump into this exercise. And that's pretty much it, honestly. The biggest use cases I see in the world of construction, specialty trade, manufacturing, when it comes to AI, is really when it comes to working with data and cleaning the data and categorizing the data. So, for example, you have a PO that comes in, and you have another purchase order or a receiving log, etc. And they are from PDFs and or not in a consistent format. So what you can ask the AI to do is structure the data in a specific output format and then compare for variances. That's a very useful use case. But as you can imagine, this requires some orchestration of those AIs. And so you can try it to do it yourself. There are great tools like NA10 that help you do that, or make.com. So those are fantastic systems to help you create those workflows. They're great. Then other use cases that we see are, for example, for e-commerce, it's the virtual studio. So where, for example, a supplier gives you a lot of inconsistent pictures of the product you purchase, but you don't have all the resources to produce the product images consistent to your brand guide, etc. So an AI now can generate images with high fidelity very cheaply at scale, and it's very impressive. We have a project with one of our clients. It's just mind-blowing what we can do. Another use case is just have access to all the context about your client within your CRM or your project, and then dump a lot of data usually that you wouldn't dump because it's unstructured, like your voice notes or things that you want to remember, etc. And then without specific UI design or fields, and then ask questions about those projects and get the answer specific to that. So if you look for a specific term for those things, it's called RAGs. It's like retrieved augmentation generation, I think. That's I don't remember the specific name, but RAG, retrieval augmented generation. But the main point is that we are still very early in that whole cycle, and one of the best uses of AI that you can do is giving your teams access to Claude or Claude, just the Claude Pro subscription, that will give you access to a chatbot, ChatGPT, but where you can create projects and add in context and then have some work done way faster than it should be. And it's incredible how much it can boost the productivity of your team if you let them go and give them some basic training on those tools. But you can already yield, I think, 5 to 10% of increased productivity just by doing that. But I would still say AI is just like steam engines in the 1800s or 1900s. It took some work that was done by very few people and decoupled it. So we have way more productivity. We have way more ability to build apps and software in general. And so there's a huge industrialization of software happening right now. But as we saw with the classic industrial revolution, and I'm an industrial engineer, so I know what I'm talking about, what really matters is to orchestrate all those tools and invest in the critical areas of your value chain, which means remove your bottlenecks or remove some constraints to make sure that you have a constant flow of value that is transformed from your lead to your cash steps. So I think that's one of the most important things to think about. And when we say we implement a new tool, a new technology, there's always that part of standard operating procedures that comes in, change management, adoption, scalability. So there are a few things to think about. There definitely needs to be some strategy around how to do that. So for example, when we work with our customers on AI projects, we don't start with AI projects right away. I think it's part of the unlock later, because we know we're going to be very precise and very effective in the way we're going to implement those tools, because we'll have all the context of the value chain of our customer. But first, what really matters is to create the right digitalization of the value chain and then orchestrate the work in a way that you remove or compensate for the lack of your management layer. And just then you can have a good idea of what activities can be eligible for AI tools and AI workflows and agentic AI. But you can just think of an AI like a very cheap employee, but that also needs to be trained, needs to have context, and needs to be guided to make sure that it does the work reliably. So that was kind of my Sunday conversation with you on this topic. We'll start to output some structured documentation on the subject, like a guide on how SMB owners can navigate the AI revolution in 2026, 2027. So we're going to be working on that. So subscribe to our channel or book a call with us if you want to learn more about this. We can definitely see if we can work together and if there is a fit. But take care. Bye.